procrastination is something most people have battled at some point in their lives. The desire to be productive, wake up early, exercise regularly, and complete projects on time is often strong, but there's a disconnect between intention and action. You might find yourself daydreaming about how efficient your day could be, but when it's time to act, the tasks that seem uncomfortable or daunting lead you to seek comfort in easier, more pleasurable activities, whether that's watching TV, playing video games, or scrolling through social media. It's in these moments of avoidance that guilt starts to creep in. You know you should be working on that project, exercising, or handling the more pressing responsibilities, but instead, you're caught in a loop of distractions. You criticize yourself for not taking action, which often leads to more procrastination, creating a vicious cycle that's hard to break. This self-criticism might come in the form of telling yourself that you're lazy, incapable, or not disciplined enough. But the truth is, procrastinators aren't lazy. In fact, most are capable and talented people who struggle with the bridge between thinking and doing. The problem lies in how the brain perceives discomfort and seeks out immediate rewards. When procrastination becomes a habit, the small daily decisions to avoid a task can turn into long-term regrets. Each day the feeling of not accomplishing your goals compounds, leaving a lingering sense of dissatisfaction. Over time, this regret becomes heavier, and the more you delay, the bigger the tasks seem to become. The key to breaking this pattern is through strategies that help shift the focus from avoidance to action. By understanding why you procrastinate and applying specific, practical methods, you can start doing the things you've always wanted to do without feeling overwhelmed. Whether it's small steps like setting manageable goals or bigger mindset shifts like changing your perception of discomfort, this book outlines ways to turn your intentions into accomplishments. It's not about perfection but progress, and the sense of fulfillment that comes from doing what you set out to do. Chapter 1. Know thy enemy isn't just an explanation of procrastination, it's a revelation. The author unravels procrastination, describing it as the act of delaying or putting off something that should be done. But it's much deeper than that. It's not just a simple delay, it's a fierce internal struggle, a battle waged within your mind. Imagine two sides at war, one, the rational part of you that knows what must be done, and the other, the emotional part that craves immediate pleasure. You know you should tackle that project, hit the gym, or finally start that goal, but something powerful holds you back. That something is procrastination, a force that entices you with comfort and tempts you to push your responsibilities into the future, again and again. The battle is relentless. Why? Because, deep down, procrastination is all about emotions. It's not just that the task is hard, it's that the task stirs up uncomfortable feelings, anxiety, frustration, boredom. Instead of facing those emotions, you flee. You run to anything that feels easy, a TV show, your phone, or even mundane chores. These distractions become your temporary escape. But the escape is short-lived. While you're indulging in these distractions, a creeping sense of guilt gnaws at you. You know you're avoiding what needs to be done, and that guilt. It feeds the procrastination monster, trapping you in a vicious cycle. It gets worse. Over time, this delay turns into fear, a fear that lurks beneath the surface, guiding your every decision. You're not just avoiding tasks, you're avoiding the uncomfortable emotions that come with them. You may be afraid of failure, of not being good enough, or of the sheer difficulty of the task ahead. And instead of conquering that fear, you let it control you, paralyzing your ability to take action. Every task you avoid weighs on you like a burden, intensifying that feeling of being trapped. The more you procrastinate, the more you worry. The more you worry, the more you procrastinate. And before you know it, you're stuck in a constant state of unease, a prisoner to your own fears. In this chapter, the author delivers a wake-up call. Procrastination isn't just a bad habit, it's an emotional struggle that sabotages your life. It's an enemy that lives inside you, using fear and emotions as its weapons. If you don't recognize this enemy, it will continue to control you, keeping you in a state of anxiety and regret. But by understanding the emotional roots of procrastination, you can begin to dismantle its power. This chapter lays bare the truth. Procrastination is not just about delaying tasks, it's about delaying your own potential. And if you want to break free, you must first face the uncomfortable truth of what's really holding you back. Chapter 2, Awareness opens your eyes to a truth most people never realize. Procrastination thrives in the shadows of your mind, operating without you even knowing it. Many people go through life procrastinating on important tasks without recognizing the hold it has over them. This chapter emphasizes that without awareness, change is impossible. Most of your decisions are made on autopilot, driven by urges and impulses rather than conscious thought. You might think you're in control, but more often than not, it's your emotional reactions that are steering the ship. The first step in overcoming procrastination is to shine a light on it. Awareness is the key to unlocking lasting change. The author stresses that you must become a detective of your own behavior, analyzing your thoughts, actions, and excuses to truly understand when and why you procrastinate. Once you start noticing the patterns, you can break free from the automatic loop of procrastination. The author introduces a powerful tool, the procrastination log. This log is your personal record keeper, helping you track every instance of procrastination. Every time you delay a task, you jot down what activity you avoided, what excuse you made, and what emotions or thoughts were swirling in your mind at the time. Were you tired? Bored? Anxious? Tracking these moments might seem tedious, but over time, you'll start to see a clear pattern emerge. Certain tasks might trigger procrastination more than others, or you might notice that stress makes you reach for distractions. These patterns become crucial insights, revealing the invisible traps you set for yourself. With these insights, you can prepare for the next time procrastination creeps in. By identifying the moments when you're most vulnerable, you can build strategies to avoid falling into the same traps. The goal is to catch yourself before the procrastination cycle even begins. This chapter is a call to action to stop operating on autopilot and start living with intention. You are no longer at the mercy of your impulses. Instead, you have the power to observe and change them. Awareness is the first step in defeating procrastination, and the procrastination log is your weapon in the fight. By tracking your behavior and recognizing the patterns, you shift from being a passive participant in your life to an active one, capable of making conscious, empowered decisions that lead you closer to your goals. Chapter 3, The Paradox of Getting Started delves deep into one of the most profound challenges of human nature. Why is it so difficult to begin tasks that we know are important for our growth, health, and success? The tasks we procrastinate on often trigger feelings of discomfort, anxiety, and even dread. This is not a random occurrence, but rather a natural defense mechanism built into the human brain. The brain is designed to avoid pain, whether physical or mental, and when it senses that a task might be difficult, boring, or overwhelming, it immediately tries to steer you away from it. This is why so many people procrastinate, not because they are lazy, but because their brain is working hard to avoid what it perceives as unpleasant. The author makes it clear that the pain we experience isn't actually in the task itself. The real struggle comes from the anticipation of the task. The mere thought of starting something hard can feel paralyzing, but once we actually begin, the feelings of discomfort quickly fade away. This is the paradox. The hardest part of doing any difficult task is simply getting started. Once you're in the flow, the task becomes more manageable, and the feelings of dread and discomfort diminish. In fact, you might even find yourself enjoying the process or feeling accomplished as you make progress. The brain, which initially resisted the task, begins to shift as you start working, and the task that once seemed impossible becomes surprisingly doable. But here's the catch: even though we know this paradox exists, getting started still feels like climbing a mountain. Why? Because overcoming that initial hurdle requires effort and practice. The more you practice starting, the easier it becomes. Think of it as training a muscle. At first, it's hard, and you might struggle, but the more you exercise this starting muscle, the stronger it gets, and eventually, you can start tasks with less hesitation. One of the key reasons people struggle to get started is that they focus on the end goal rather than the next step. Big projects or long-term goals can feel intimidating and overwhelming when you look at them in their entirety. The sheer size of what you have to accomplish can make you feel like you'll never get there, so your brain shuts down and looks for an easier, more immediate way to feel good, like scrolling through social media or binge-watching TV. This is a classic avoidance tactic, and it's one of the main reasons people procrastinate. But the author offers a solution to this overwhelming feeling: break tasks down into smaller steps. Instead of focusing on the giant project looming over you, shift your attention to the very next step, no matter how small it is. By narrowing your focus, you reduce the feeling of being overwhelmed and make the task feel more achievable. For example, instead of thinking, "I have to write a whole report," you could focus on something much smaller, like, "I'll just write the first sentence." Once that first step is complete, it becomes easier to move on to the next step. This approach allows you to tackle even the most intimidating projects without feeling paralyzed. The author outlines a practical method to help you get started and stay on track. Make a list. Start by writing down everything you need to do. Putting your tasks on paper helps clear mental clutter and gives you a sense of control. It can also be incredibly satisfying to cross items off your list as you complete them. Create a plan. Once you have your list, organize it. Decide what needs to be done first and break your tasks into smaller, manageable steps. Creating a plan not only helps you stay focused but also removes the uncertainty that often leads to procrastination. Focus on one step at a time. Instead of worrying about everything you have to do, concentrate on the very next action. By keeping your focus on the present task, you prevent your mind from spiraling into overwhelm. The idea is to build momentum, and the best way to do that is by taking one small step after another. Start the next step. As soon as you complete one step, move directly to the next without overthinking it. Each step you take reduces the size of the task and brings you closer to your goal. But starting isn't the only challenge. There's another villain in the procrastination saga: perfectionism. Many people don't start tasks because they've set impossibly high standards for themselves. They want everything they do to be perfect, and this desire for perfection leads to paralysis. The fear of not doing something perfectly stops them from even trying. This is a major reason why people put off tasks that are important. Perfectionism convinces you that unless you can do something flawlessly, it's not worth doing at all. But this mindset is a trap, one that keeps you stuck and prevents you from making progress. To combat perfectionism, the author suggests lowering your standards. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for progress. Perfection isn't necessary to succeed. In fact, it's often the pursuit of perfection that prevents people from succeeding. By focusing on making progress, no matter how small, you remove the pressure to be perfect and free yourself to actually get started. Remember, done is always better than perfect. Another practical strategy is the 2-minute rule. If a task takes 2 minutes or less to complete, do it immediately. This rule is powerful because it prevents small tasks from piling up and overwhelming you. Often, it's the accumulation of tiny, unfinished tasks that makes you feel like you're drowning in things to do. But by tackling these small tasks right away, you clear mental space and reduce the overall feeling of overwhelm. The author also introduces the concept of implementation intentions. This is a simple but effective technique for building new habits and overcoming procrastination. An implementation intention is a plan that follows an if-then format, where you decide in advance what you'll do in a specific situation. For example, if it's 7 a.m., then I'll go for a 10-minute walk, or, if I finish lunch, then I'll work on my project for 30 minutes. By creating these mental cues, you automate your behavior, making it easier to follow through on your intentions. Over time, this technique can help you build a routine that makes procrastination less likely. Finally, the chapter emphasizes the importance of focusing on the process rather than the outcome. Many people get discouraged because they're too focused on the end result, losing weight, finishing a project, or mastering a skill. The outcome can seem so far away that it feels impossible to achieve, which leads to procrastination. But the outcome is just the result of many small actions taken consistently over time. The process is where your attention should be. If you focus on eating healthy and exercising regularly, the weight loss will come naturally. If you focus on writing every day, the project will eventually get done. By putting your energy into the process, you take the pressure off the outcome and allow success to unfold naturally. In conclusion, Chapter 3 reveals that the key to overcoming procrastination is not about waiting for the perfect moment to start or achieving perfection. It's about taking small, manageable steps, lowering your expectations, and focusing on the process. Procrastination is a natural reaction to discomfort, but by practicing the art of starting and building momentum, you can conquer it. The paradox of getting started is that once you begin, the task becomes easier, and the feelings of overwhelm dissipate. It's a practice that takes time, but with awareness and the right strategies, anyone can break free from the grip of procrastination. Chapter 4, What Productivity Gurus Won't Tell You About Procrastination dives into one of the most misunderstood aspects of human productivity, why procrastination isn't simply about poor time management. Many experts push the idea that being productive is all about managing your time better, and while that advice has its place, it doesn't get to the root of the issue. The truth is that procrastination is an emotional management problem, not a time management one. You can have the most organized, color-coded schedule, with every minute accounted for, and still find yourself procrastinating. Why? Because procrastination isn't about the clock, it's about your feelings. Procrastination happens when you avoid tasks because they make you feel uncomfortable. These emotions could range from anxiety, boredom, or even fear of failure. When faced with these emotions, your brain does what it's wired to do. It avoids them by distracting you with something that feels better in the moment, like scrolling through social media or watching Netflix. So, no matter how well you've planned your day, if you don't deal with those negative emotions, you'll keep falling into the trap of procrastination. However, just because procrastination is rooted in emotions doesn't mean that time management strategies should be thrown out the window. In fact, solid time management strategies can still play an important role in helping you overcome procrastination when used correctly. Think of these strategies as a support system, helping you stay focused and accountable, even when your emotions are trying to pull you off track. One of the most important strategies the author emphasizes is scheduling. You might be thinking, I already know how to schedule things, but the key here is in how you approach it. It's not just about making a to-do list, it's about making your tasks tangible by writing them down on a calendar. Why is this important? Because when you write something down, you create a sense of commitment. It's as if you've made a pact with yourself to follow through. Instead of having vague ideas floating around in your head about what you need to do, you now have concrete plans with specific times attached to them. This simple act of scheduling turns your tasks from abstract concepts into real, actionable steps. The author stresses that scheduling isn't just about filling your calendar with tasks. You need to be strategic about it. One of the best ways to ensure you stay productive is to start your day on fire. The first few hours of your day are crucial because they set the tone for the rest of the day. If you wake up and immediately fall into procrastination, checking your phone, lying in bed, or aimlessly wandering around, you're already off to a bad start. But if you wake up with intention and energy, you're much more likely to carry that momentum through the rest of your day. The author offers a simple but effective method to start your day strong. Get up as soon as you wake up. This might sound obvious, but how many of us hit the snooze button a few times before dragging ourselves out of bed? By getting up right away, you're already overcoming a small procrastination hurdle. Once you're up, it's important to have a morning ritual. Whether it's meditation, journaling, or a workout, a morning ritual helps you feel centered and prepared for the day ahead. It gives you a sense of control and sets a positive tone for the rest of your day. Next, make sure you have a healthy breakfast. You've probably heard this advice 1,000 times, but there's a reason it's repeated so often. Your body and brain need fuel to function at their best. If you skip breakfast or eat something unhealthy, you're setting yourself up for a crash later in the day, which can lead to you guessed it, procrastination. After your morning routine, it's time to tackle your most important task. This is another strategy that productivity gurus often preach, but the author explains why it's so critical. When you start your day by working on your most important task, you're ensuring that even if the rest of your day goes off track, you've already accomplished something significant. This creates a sense of momentum and accomplishment that can carry you through the rest of your day. But if you put off your most important task until later, you're more likely to avoid it altogether, especially as decision fatigue sets in and your energy levels drop. One of the best ways to ensure that you start your day on fire is to plan your day the night before. This might seem like a small habit, but it can have a big impact on your productivity. By taking just a few minutes each night to write down your tasks for the next day, you create a sense of clarity and purpose. You wake up knowing exactly what you need to do, rather than wasting time figuring it out. This simple act of planning can help you avoid the procrastination trap, because when you already know what needs to be done, it's easier to dive in and get started. The author also emphasizes that planning your day the night before does more than just organize your tasks, it creates momentum. When you wake up and already have a plan in place, you're more likely to jump into action because you don't have to think about what to do next. This is especially important for people who struggle with procrastination because one of the main reasons we procrastinate is that we don't know where to start. But if you've already planned your day, that decision has been made for you, and all you have to do is follow through. So, while productivity gurus might tell you to manage your time better, the real key to overcoming procrastination is learning how to manage your emotions. Negative emotions like fear, anxiety, and overwhelm are the real culprits behind procrastination. And while time management strategies can help you stay organized and focused, they won't work if you don't address the emotional side of procrastination. To overcome procrastination, you need a combination of emotional awareness and practical strategies. By understanding the emotional triggers behind your procrastination, you can start to manage those feelings and reduce their power over you. And by using strategies like scheduling, starting your day strong, and planning your day the night before, you can create the structure and momentum you need to stay on track. In conclusion, Chapter 4 reveals that procrastination is not just a time management issue, it's an emotional management problem. To truly overcome it, you need to address the negative emotions that cause you to avoid tasks in the first place. But that doesn't mean time management strategies are useless. When used correctly, they can help you create a sense of structure and accountability that makes it easier to follow through on your goals. By scheduling your tasks, starting your day on fire, and planning your day the night before, you can build the momentum and discipline needed to break free from procrastination's grip. It's a powerful combination of emotional awareness and practical strategies that leads to lasting change. Chapter 5: The Magic of a Simple Plan. This chapter dives into the power of implementation techniques to transform how you approach tasks. Have you ever been in a situation where you knew exactly what you needed to do but couldn't bring yourself to do it? That's where implementation intentions come in, a tool to automate your behavior and push you into action without overthinking it. It's almost like you're creating mental shortcuts to help you avoid falling into the trap of procrastination. The beauty of this technique is that it's incredibly simple. It revolves around the idea of linking a cue, the if sentence, with an intended behavior, the then sentence. This framework allows you to pre-decide how you'll act in certain situations. For instance, if I sit down to study, then I'll turn off my phone. By setting these cues, you make it easier to leap into action when the moment arises, without wasting mental energy debating what to do. You're essentially pre-programming your brain to respond a certain way, creating habits that align with your goals. This method not only simplifies decision-making, but it also conserves willpower. Think of it like this: every time you're faced with a decision, you use a little bit of your willpower. The more decisions you have to make, the quicker you exhaust that precious resource. But by setting implementation intentions, the decisions are already made. You don't have to think about what to do next, it's automatic. This frees up your mental energy for more important tasks, while making it easier to avoid procrastination. To get started, the author suggests writing down a series of if-then plans specifically tailored to the tasks you tend to procrastinate on. For example, if it's 9 a.m., then I'll start working on my project. Or, if I finish this chapter, then I'll reward myself with a break. These small, actionable steps make it easier to take the first move because you've already decided what to do when the moment arises. The less you have to think about it, the less likely you are to delay. In essence, implementation intentions offer a structured yet simple way to create new habits and routines, helping you sidestep the emotional resistance that often leads to procrastination. You're not relying solely on willpower anymore, you're using a plan that guides you toward action. Chapter 6, Carrots and Sticks. This chapter brings to light a fundamental truth about human motivation. We are driven by two forces, rewards and punishments. Whether we like it or not, our brain is wired to seek out pleasure and avoid pain. And when it comes to procrastination, understanding how to harness these forces can be incredibly powerful. The author explains that we can think of our brain as having two parts, the rational part and the irrational part. The rational part knows what's good for us and what we need to do in the present to achieve long-term rewards. The irrational part, however, is focused on immediate gratification. This inner battle is at the heart of procrastination. While you know what you should be doing, your irrational side is constantly pulling you toward activities that feel good right now, like watching TV or scrolling through social media. But here's the thing, you can use this to your advantage by incorporating rewards and punishments into your routine. By tapping into your brain's natural wiring, you can trick it into staying on track. The key is to use carrots, rewards, and sticks, punishments, to motivate yourself in the right direction. One of the most effective techniques is to promise yourself a reward. This works because your brain craves immediate satisfaction, and rewards provide that. Let's say you're struggling to finish a report. Instead of focusing on how daunting the task feels, you can motivate yourself by promising a small reward once it's done. For example, after I finish this report, I'll watch my favorite TV show. By linking the task to something enjoyable, you'll be more motivated to get it done. The author emphasizes that for rewards to be effective, they need to be immediate. Waiting until the end of a long project to reward yourself is too far away for your brain to care. Instead, break up larger tasks into smaller milestones and reward yourself along the way. This keeps you motivated throughout the process and makes long projects feel more manageable. For instance, if you're working on a big project, you could reward yourself after completing each section rather than waiting until the very end. Another strategy discussed is temptation bundling, pairing something you enjoy with something you need to do. For example, if you love watching TV but need to exercise, try combining the two by watching your favorite show while on the treadmill. Or if you enjoy listening to podcasts, use that time to complete mundane tasks like cleaning or organizing. This technique allows you to get the best of both worlds. You're doing something productive while still satisfying your desire for immediate pleasure. On the flip side, you can also use punishments to motivate yourself to avoid procrastination. The author introduces the concept of making procrastination pay, which plays on our brain's natural tendency toward loss aversion. Humans are more motivated to avoid losses than to gain equivalent rewards. So, if you set up a punishment for not completing a task, you'll be more likely to follow through to avoid that negative consequence. One of the simplest ways to implement this is to use money as a motivator. Let's say you struggle to finish a task. You can give a friend or family member a certain amount of money and tell them that if you complete the task by a specific deadline, you'll get the money back. If you fail to complete the task, they keep the money. The thought of losing your money will push you to stay on track because no one wants to experience that kind of loss. By using rewards to incentivize positive behavior and punishments to avoid negative outcomes, you can create a powerful system that keeps you motivated and on task. It's all about leveraging your brain's natural tendencies to your advantage, instead of letting them lead you astray. In conclusion, Chapter 6 highlights the importance of understanding what drives our behavior and using that knowledge to our benefit. Whether it's through small rewards, temptation bundling, or loss aversion, you have the power to train your brain to stop procrastinating and start taking action. By incorporating carrots and sticks into your daily routine, you'll be able to stay motivated, push through the discomfort of difficult tasks, and achieve your long-term goals more efficiently. Chapter 7: Why Your Granny Doesn't Procrastinate. Our modern world is filled with endless distractions: social media, video games, television, all vying for our attention at every turn. We have access to more entertainment and distractions than any generation before us. Yet, our grandparents seem to get by just fine without all these technological marvels. In fact, they probably procrastinated far less than we do. Why? Because they weren't overstimulated like we are today. Today's society is overscheduled, overconnected, and overstimulated. We can waste hours scrolling through social media or binge-watching shows without even realizing it. The constant availability of distractions pulls us away from doing things that actually matter. Our potential gets wasted on meaningless activities like games, social media, and endless email checking. The biggest issue here is that these distractions are immediate and fun, while the work we need to do is often seen as boring or hard. That's a key reason why so many of us procrastinate, because distractions are simply more appealing in the moment. The good news is that you can take steps to reduce procrastination by managing these distractions effectively. The first step is to eliminate or complicate distractions. Since distractions are always available at our fingertips, we use them mindlessly. You can reduce procrastination by making distractions harder to access. For instance, block distracting websites, delete certain apps from your phone, or even go as far as selling your video game consoles or placing them in storage where they aren't within easy reach. By increasing the difficulty of accessing distractions, you're less likely to waste time on them. Another powerful strategy is to mold your environment. Our environment is full of cues that trigger our behavior. For example, if you see food, you'll feel hungry. If you see games, you'll want to play. To procrastinate less, remove the objects that encourage time wasting. Clean up your workspace, declutter your browser by getting rid of unnecessary tabs, and disable notifications that constantly pull your attention away from important tasks. Surround yourself with items that promote healthy habits, like books or fitness equipment, instead of objects that distract you. In this chapter, the author introduces a technique called emotion surfing, which is about riding the wave of your emotions without giving in to them. Just like waves in the ocean, emotions come and go. When you feel the urge to procrastinate, don't act on it right away. Instead, observe how your body feels and recognize the emotions you're experiencing. This might be difficult at first, but with practice, you'll find that negative emotions lose their power over you. The key is to realize that urges pass. When you want to procrastinate, the feeling usually starts small and builds into something bigger. But if you resist the urge long enough, the feeling will eventually fade away. This is similar to surfing. You ride the wave until it dies out. By learning to accept your emotions, you can prevent them from controlling your actions. You don't need to fight your feelings or suppress them, just let them exist, and they'll pass. Chapter 10: The Science of Willpower. Procrastination is often seen as a willpower failure. You know what you need to do, but you can't bring yourself to do it. Willpower is the ability to choose the difficult, important task over the easy, unimportant one. It's what drives us to succeed in life, whether it's in our careers, health, or personal development. The stronger your willpower, the more likely you are to achieve your goals. However, willpower is like a muscle. It can be strengthened with practice, but it can also get tired if overused. The more decisions you make throughout the day, the more your willpower gets depleted. This is why after a long day, you're more likely to opt for something easy like watching TV instead of hitting the gym. The author explains that fatigue is one of the primary reasons people procrastinate. Willpower requires energy, and when you're tired, it's harder to stay focused on your goals. To maintain your willpower, it's essential to take care of your health and energy levels. This means getting enough sleep, eating healthy, exercising, and managing stress. When your body is well rested and nourished, your mind is more capable of resisting distractions and staying on task. Another way to conserve willpower is to simplify your life and reduce the number of decisions you have to make. For instance, plan your day in advance so you don't waste mental energy figuring out what to do next. You can also streamline your routines by eating the same meals throughout the week or minimizing your wardrobe choices. This leaves more energy for the tasks that truly matter. Practices like meditation can also strengthen your willpower by improving your focus, attention, and stress management. Exercise is another excellent way to build willpower because it trains your body and mind to push through discomfort. Starting small and building consistency over time can make a huge difference in your self-discipline. Finally, the author encourages readers to grow their self-compassion. Like willpower, self-compassion is a skill that can be developed. Being kind to yourself, especially when you fail, can help you stay motivated and bounce back from setbacks more easily.